The shocking truth about eggs and heart disease. Don't eat another egg until you watch this. Egg fat and cholesterol have been linked to heart disease, diabetes, and prostate and colorectal cancer. Approximately 60% of the calories in eggs come from fat, the majority of which is saturated fat. Eggs are also high in cholesterol, with an average-sized egg containing roughly 200 milligrams. That's more than twice as much as a Big Mac. Heart disease is exacerbated by fat and cholesterol. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Today, we are going to talk about the shocking truth about eggs and heart disease. Don't eat another egg until you watch this. Before we get started with the video, don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started. Cardiovascular disease is a top cause of death in both men and women in the United States. Diet and lifestyle unquestionably play a significant role in the development of cardiovascular disease. To prevent cardiovascular disease, it was previously routinely suggested to limit dietary cholesterol intake to 300 milligrams per day. However, because of poor relationship between dietary cholesterol and blood cholesterol, and the fact that dietary cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern for overconsumption, the most current 2015 dietary guidelines for Americans did not take this suggestion forward. Eggs are a good source of dietary cholesterol, but they are also a good source of iron, unsaturated fatty acids, phospholipids, and carotenoids. However, due to the cholesterol level in eggs, the link between egg consumption and cardiovascular disease risk has been the subject of heated controversy over the last decade. Many prospective studies on the relationship between egg consumption and the risk of cardiovascular disease have produced contradictory results. Some studies found no link between egg consumption and an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, while others found an inverse relationship between egg consumption and cardiovascular disease events or subclinical markers. Even meta-analysis of prospective research on egg consumption and the risk of cardiovascular disease has inconsistent results, adding to the confusion. It is preferable to have repeated assessments of food and lifestyle to investigate the association between egg consumption and cardiovascular disease risk, because atherosclerosis develops over several decades. Such metrics account for random variation in consumption, offer a measure of a long-term or normal diet, and adequately control for confounding due to lifestyle factors. Furthermore, in order to improve dietary advice while also taking into account the sustainability problems associated with food production, it is necessary to quantify the effects of eggs on cardiovascular disease risk when compared to other animal and plant-based meals. In our investigation, we looked at the relationship between egg consumption and incident cardiovascular disease using repeated dietary measurements over up to 32 years of follow-up and rigorous control of dietary and other possible confounders. According to Circulation Research, eating eggs doubles the risk of dying from heart disease. Researchers conducted a comprehensive assessment of existing data and compared egg and cholesterol consumption, as well as blood cholesterol levels, within deaths from cardiovascular disease in over 27,000 people. Eating one egg every day elevated the risk of dying from heart disease substantially. Higher blood cholesterol levels and dietary cholesterol intake were also linked to an increased risk of dying from heart disease. These findings back up the idea of lowering dietary cholesterol intake for better heart health. According to the findings of the 3 cohorts and the updated meta-analysis, moderate egg consumption, up to 1 egg per day, is not linked with overall cardiovascular disease risk and may be associated with decreased cardiovascular disease risk in Asian populations. According to a 2021 study, eating half an egg per day was linked to an increase in fatalities from heart disease, cancer, and all causes. The risk of death increased by up to 24% for every 300 milligrams of dietary cholesterol taken per day. According to a JAMA study, each 300 milligram intake of dietary cholesterol was associated with a 17% and 18% increase in the risk of cardiovascular disease and mortality, respectively. When it came to eggs, each half egg increased the risk by 6% and 8% respectively. According to a study published in the Canadian Journal of Cardiology, people who consume the most eggs have a 19% increased risk of cardiovascular issues. Egg eating has been shown to lower cholesterol levels in studies supported by the egg industry. A review published in the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine by the Physicians Committee investigated all research articles published between 1950 and March 2019 that elevated the effects of eggs on blood cholesterol levels, as well as funding sources and their influence on study conclusions. Prior to 1970, there was little industry impact on cholesterol research. The share of studies supported by industry has risen over time, from 0% in the 1950s to 60% in 2010 to 2019. Regardless of funding source, more than 85% of research studies found that eggs have a negative influence on blood cholesterol. However, 49% of industry-funded publications claimed findings that contradicted real research findings, compared to 13% of non-industry funded trials. According to a study published in the British Journal of Nutrition, eating 1 or more eggs per day may increase the risk of diabetes by 60%. Researchers examined egg consumption and blood glucose levels in over 8,000 Chinese health and nutrition survey participants. Those who ate the most eggs on a regular basis had a higher risk of diabetes than those who ate the fewest eggs. Similar findings are supported by these findings, according to an analysis of 14 studies published in the journal Atherosclerosis. People who consume the most eggs have a 68% increased risk of diabetes. Another study indicated a 39% increased risk of diabetes in people who eat 3 or more eggs each week. 2 studies that were recently published in the American Journal of Epidemiology found that consuming eggs was associated with an increased risk of developing gestational diabetes. Consuming eggs has also been associated with the increased risk of developing some cancers, including colon, rectal, and prostate cancers. When it comes to healthy eating, eggs have long been a source of contention. However, specialists have now agreed that while eggs contain cholesterol, it is saturated fat rather than cholesterol that influences cholesterol levels in our blood. Therefore, eating eggs as part of a healthy diet is fine. The study, sponsored by Zhejiang University in China, sought to investigate the relationship between the number of eggs consumed, cholesterol consumption, and mortality rates. It was a massive study that included 521,120 Americans. The researchers asked participants how frequently they ate certain meals, such as whole eggs and egg whites. They used this data to calculate their cholesterol intake. The study discovered a correlation between consuming more eggs and an increased risk of death overall, as well as death from heart and circulatory disease and cancer. However, consuming only egg whites had the opposite effect. The study also discovered that consuming more cholesterol was linked to a higher overall risk of death, as well as death from heart and circulatory disease and cancer. An additional 300 mg of dietary cholesterol per day, about the amount found in 1.5 medium eggs, was associated with a 19% increase in all-cause mortality, a 16% increase in CVD death risk, and a 24% increase in cancer death risk. That's a wrap on our video. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.